is the North End. This is the North End.
What is up, North Enders? Welcome back to the channel. My name's Aizaz. Now, before I get started into this video, I just want to say, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and get ready to drop a comment because you know it feeds the algorithms that feeds us, and we need that to keep this moving. Now, getting into the video, this is a goodbye and somewhat of a love letter to the legendary Liverpool captain, Jordan Henderson. Now, before I get too much into the video, please know I'm talking about this from a football perspective. I'm not getting into the politics of the situation. I do have thoughts, I do have opinions, I probably have some stuff to say, but out of respect for the platform, I'm going to keep this particularly focused on the football. And as far as the soccer is concerned, Jordan Henderson leaves Liverpool as an absolute iconic captain of the football club. Now, before I get into his qualities and just some of my favorite memories, what I want to say is I understand that Hendo is not necessarily even Steven Gerrard, who he ended up winning more than as captain. He's no Graham Souness. And also, yeah, I get that in the times of Kevin De Bruyne and David Silva, he's not been the premier footballer from a creative or technical perspective. But for some reason, every now and again, a footballer comes along that transcends what that is all supposed to be on the football pitch. And by the way, he was a very able player as well. But that's not what Jordan Henderson represents to Liverpool. Jordan Henderson was the captain of the football club when most people that weren't around during the absolute glory days of Liverpool have seen their most glorious period. And just to add to that as well, I think the pain of that certain period, call it 25 to 30 years, adds to what this team meant to us. And of course, then there's Jurgen Klopp coming along and connecting everything. That also adds to the romance of the situation. Now, don't get me wrong, Jurgen Klopp was the leader for the football club altogether, but Jordan Henderson was his leader on the pitch and definitely the leader of the team. I have to cast my mind back to summer 2011, and I think I was a little bit underwhelmed by the original transfer just because I thought we needed a little bit more than what we got that summer. I know we got Charlie Adam as well, who had just come off a really good season with Blackpool. I wasn't particularly convinced. And I hadn't really seen enough of Jordan Henderson. I know I had heard a lot about the man and I'd seen snippets, certainly the Liverpool games against Sunderland and here and there, and I knew he was very highly regarded. But my standard at that time was that Liverpool had just brought back Kenny Dalglish, and instantly he got appointed in January 2011, and instantly he adopted a much more creative, dynamic style of play, which was going to be really cool considering who we had just bought in Luis Suarez. And then the summer comes along and we bought Jordan Henderson and Charlie Adam and Stuart Downing as well. So we went for a very English core midfield, Scottish, sorry, I should say, British core midfield, 2 Englishmen and a Scotsman. And Jordan Henderson was the young one. And he actually started that season as the right midfielder. So Kenny went for somewhat of a 4-4-2 and Jordan Henderson was the right midfielder. We've seen England players play that role really well, most notably with distinction David Beckham. If you ask him, he was probably a central midfielder. But obviously in the great Fergie team, he was right winger. And Steven Gerrard actually won the PFA Player of the Year as a right winger as well in 2005, 2006 for Liverpool. So we've seen that work. And Hendo got up to a pretty good start. But as the period under Kenny started to dry up, ultimately ending with Kenny leaving the club just one season into Jordan Henderson's tenure, Brendan Rodgers comes in, and Brendan really didn't fancy Jordan Henderson to somewhat. There was talk about a Clint Dempsey swap deal in 2012, 2013. So glad we kept Henderson. And he wasn't necessarily setting the world alight, but in 13-14, under Steven Gerrard moving into the central role, we had Daniel Sturridge, Luis Suarez, Raheem Sterling, Philip Coutinho running riot, and we went really close to winning the title. And arguably, Jordan Henderson was the standout newcomer, like the breakthrough star of that team, because we really expected a lot, even from Raheem Sterling. Raheem Sterling was touted as being someone really special, and yet Jordan Henderson, who had almost left the club a year earlier, was suddenly very central. Now, Jordan Henderson actually gets sent off and suspended towards the end of the season, which sees him miss the game against Chelsea. And many people actually say that had he been present, maybe the whole game where it all unravels for Liverpool may never have happened. Of course, we will never know that, but Jordan Henderson was supreme that year. And I remember him going to the World Cup with a lot of confidence, and certainly within the Liverpool camp, but even outside the Liverpool camp, there was quite a few Henderson 14 shirts being sold for England as well. So instantly there, Jordan Hendo was onto something big. This shirt that I'm wearing here, you know, Liverpool Warrior, not necessarily the most glorious era from Liverpool's design perspective, but actually I have Hendo on the back of this shirt as well. I remember when I was buying this, it was a toss-up between Raheem Sterling and Jordan Henderson for this away shirt, and I went Hendo as well. So he was starting to get that popularity, certainly in the Liverpool fan base, and even a bit more outside of that. But really, it's when at the end of 14-15, the following season, when Steven Gerrard leaves, in the season when Gerrard is in and out of the team, suspension, injuries, etc., Hendo is the de facto captain. And then as Steven Gerrard leaves, there's a huge moment where he passes the armband on to Henderson. And there was so much criticism from within the fan base and certainly outside that this was not the man to continue Steven Gerrard's mantle. That summer, Brendan Rodgers is skating on thin ice because in Steven Gerrard's last game, we get whooped by Stoke City. My memories of that game was me and my brother trying to get into the match. We were outside the Stoke Stadium and probably a little bit thankful that it never worked out because it was somewhat embarrassing, so to speak. And then a couple of months later, there is that moment where Brendan Rodgers is let go after a Merseyside derby and Jurgen Klopp arrives. Now, Jurgen Klopp, from the minute he arrived at the club, basically elevated all Liverpool fans. And actually, within weeks, he actually united the fan base as well that had been divided over many different things. And he kept Jordan Henderson as his captain. Now, James Milner had joined the team, serial winner for different teams. And then there was a couple of other moments. I remember when Virgil van Dijk joined, and there was a lot of conversation about would he be the new captain and is that the direction we want to move in? And at no point did Jordan Henderson ever seem to be risking losing the captaincy because Jurgen Klopp believed in the man. Throughout the years in which where we end up winning everything, Jordan Henderson is right in the middle of it all, really. He's actually plays an attacking role in the Barcelona comeback. But before I even get into 18-19, where Liverpool gloriously win their 6th Champions League title, the year earlier where we get to the Champions League final and lose to Real Madrid, you visibly see Jordan Henderson transforming into this new, I guess, like version 3, you would say, of version 1, call him a young pop coming into the Liverpool team, fighting for his place, trying to find recognition. Version 2 being a man under Steven Gerrard, learning the ropes and really establishing himself in the team. And then really for me, it was 17-18 where I was like, this guy is the leader. And even though there were friends and family who within the Liverpool circuit were saying to me, should Virgil be captain? Should this person be captain? I was never really convinced that anybody had the understanding of what Jurgen Klopp wanted and epitomized his style of play in terms of that all-action gegenpress more than Jordan Henderson. Arguably, Adam Lallana did. He was someone who set really high standards. But again, was it enough to actually take away Jordan Henderson's role as well? I don't think so. The next few years, I don't really need to talk too much about them, particularly because it's quite documented. Because when Liverpool fans say we won the effing lot, Jordan Henderson lifted the lot. So the man won absolutely every trophy you can possibly win. And he had some individual honors in there as well, including the Football Writers Award Player of the Year, I believe, the year Liverpool win the title. So with that in mind, I have to say, from a footballing perspective, I'm definitely going to miss Jordan Henderson. He's brought a certain kind of leadership and professionalism that everybody seems to talk about. You just have to see all of the content that's come out of Liverpool this week, particularly the players and the manager as well, just very much talking about the way he has had an impact on them, impact on the team, everything he meant to the club. But I think another thing that's really important that I need to add is it is actually time. It is time for Jordan Henderson and maybe even Fabinho to leave the club. Now, I don't want all of these players to leave at the same time. I think it's been somewhat mismanaged that the first Jurgen Klopp team has to depart this way, where we lost Gini Wijnaldum a couple of years ago, and then not really any of the mainstays. And then we lost Sadio Mane last year, you know, arguably 6 months after the AFCON aside, maybe a little bit after it should have happened. And then this year we've lost Bobby Firmino, Jordan Henderson, James Milner, and even people on the periphery like Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain and Naby Keita as well. That's a lot of people. Add to that Fabinho looks like he's on the way out as well. Yeah, that's a lot of people that are leaving in the same summer. And there's a lot of Liverpool fans that are worried. I can see that there is one parallel to this in the Liverpool history, which is when Graham Souness was the Liverpool manager. He admits openly that one of the big mistakes he made was he disbanded the glory team of the late 80s way too quickly. He cites that as a bit of a mistake. In my opinion, Liverpool at the time had youngsters that would rival the Man United youngsters. Man United had more of them, but I actually think that quality-wise, Steve McManaman, Robbie Fowler, Jamie Redknapp, Liverpool had some really, really exciting youngsters, but arguably they didn't have the senior players that Man United had. And they obviously didn't have Alex Ferguson as well, who was holding all the ship together. It's happened before where Liverpool have let too many older senior players leave at the same time. However, this is a new era, and I firmly believe in Jurgen Klopp to get this right as well. I do think that pound for pound, he's the best manager in the world. And I do think he's a bit of a difference maker, you know. So I think however this transpires to, we don't know what's going to happen. One injury or one big signing can swing the pendulum in different ways. However, I do think that there is something really exciting going on at Liverpool right now. Now, the attack has been on fire. I know it's preseason, but at the same time, we have had some seasons where you see the attack couldn't hit a barn door. So I'm actually really excited about how this attack's going to work. And then in McAllister and Szoboszlai, I'm actually really excited that we've made the right kind of moves on the creativity side. Add to that, Trent Alexander-Arnold will play certain positions as well. Curtis Jones coming off a really good season. But the big worry is for Liverpool in defence, and that all starts with who's going to be the holding midfielder. Now, Fabinho's leaving, Jordan Henderson has left. It leaves a big hole. So, you know, there is probably going to be content where I'm hopefully talking about a few more new incomings. And that could particularly alleviate this issue that Liverpool fans are having. But on the macro, I'm actually very, very excited about this whole transition that's happening at Liverpool. Ended up being a revolution. I would have taken an evolution over the last couple of years, but it's happened. It's something I've been crying out for. I think for 2-3 years, I was having conversation with Liverpool fans being like, we can't want a big name player. We were never going to get these players, but I'm just going to use an example. We can't get Mbappe or Bellingham and like expect them to replace Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain or Divock Origi. It was always going to have to be the fact that big names left for senior players to come in. And we have had that bit of a clearance now. So let's see what happens in the next couple of weeks. This video, though, was a big thank you from my perspective to Jordan Henderson. I think he's been a phenomenal captain. Like I said, he's won the lot. Total command of the dressing room. He's had a lot of love from the fan base as well. You know, there have been a few people that over the years have suddenly started to wane on his get on his back a little bit as time has gone by. But from my perspective, I've loved having him as the captain. I'm going to miss him. So El Etifak's new number 10, he leaves Liverpool with somewhat of a captain's legacy from the footballing side. And yeah, I think from now on, there's going to be a new chapter. Who's going to be the new Liverpool captain? Virgil van Dijk is the vice captain. I personally would give it to Trent Alexander-Arnold. I love Virgil, but I just think that whole Scouse captain thing has always worked for Liverpool. And Trent Alexander-Arnold is someone who embodies certain captain credentials as well. And I think that, like with Steven Gerrard in 2003, I actually think it will help his game progress a bit further as well. Anyway, that's it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Again, very much focused on the football and try to keep certain things out of it because I do want to keep this a bit of a positive video. However, let us know what you think. And again, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you very soon with more content, particularly when the season starts. It's just 2 weeks away now from opening day. But in the meantime, all the best and enjoy the summer till the next video. Peace.
This is the North End. This is the North End.